So my name is Suzannah Park, and I was born and live again here in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm a touring singer, teacher, dancer, um, and I do some of that while I'm home as well. But get to make my living making music. And I sing with my husband, and I lead a community choir in Asheville called WAC. And I sing with a larger group called the Starry Mountain Singers, and then the smaller subgroup of that, which is the Starry Mountain Trio. And I do a bunch of teaching and touring with Village Harmony, based out of Central Vermont, and then lots of other just random solo projects here and there. I used to spend probably like at least 2/3 of the year I was on tour.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think I'm trying to balance it where it's probably more like 1/3 on the road and 2/3 being home.
Mm-hmm.
Just because trying to stay connected to my community everywhere from traveling means I have to continue traveling constantly to feel connected.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I make a shift and I'm here and create more of my community that's here, it's hard. This little balancing game right now is hard because I always have one foot somewhere else that I'm not. But it's also an environmental choice to start to try to think about building more community in one place for myself, since now I can fly and drive, but I don't know that that's an environmental choice I want to keep making. So weighing out lots of different things and thinking about them, and I make better popcorn when I'm home, so it's always an important factor. And I have a dog and a husband and really sweet folks that I get to be with when I'm home as well. So yeah. I just got home from a tour with my trio. It's 2 other gentlemen that live up in New England direction, one up in Brooklyn and one in Burlington, Vermont. And we just did a little mini week-long project, sang together for a couple days. Did some recording for an upcoming movie that I can't say anything else about that, but that was fun. Spent a day in the studio. It was a hoot. And then did a little workshop and concert out at Cornell University, and did a concert in Western Massachusetts and back in Brooklyn, and then I came home. So that's one way the tours can look: really short, really sort of fun, a couple different things, a handful of driving. Earlier this year, I did another teaching at an international touring singing camp. So we were in South Africa for about a month, and that looked like living in residence with about 23 people from different places, and myself and 3 other instructors taught a collection of music that's sort of from our musical backgrounds. So I was teaching clogging and ballads, and I did some civil rights songs. But predominantly we were studying South African music and dance. And then we learn a lot of music in 7 days while we're cooking and cleaning and living together in community. And then we go on tour for 2 weeks, doing a concert every night in a different location. And I've worked at that particular organization that created these tours in that sort of format for many, many years now. And they're based up in Central Vermont. And through that same organization is how I met Nathan, Mr. Baker Man, we were talking about earlier. So yeah, that's sort of that's one of my main longer touring. Those tend to be at least, it's either like a 10-day or 3-week, and I do a bunch of those for them throughout the year. So that looks very different. Every night you're staying in a different person's home. Sometimes if it's in another country, there's huge language barriers depending on where we are, cultural differences. Hey dog. all sorts of different ways of, having the day look. Lots of swimming holes, lots of really amazing food, lots of great people, and then it's all connected by sharing traditional music.
Where have you been with them?
With them, I've been to, I've done a couple U.S. tours, East Coast, a bunch of East Coast stuff, a bunch of West Coast, and then we did one epic 2.5-month U.S. circular adventure. I've been in Italy and South Africa a few times, and all around Europe, and the UK a bunch. So those are the main hub. There's many places I haven't yet gone. I have a big wish list of other countries. Well, I went to college. I had this idea that because I like traditional music, the idea of going to college for music seemed weird. I felt like I should go and stay with people that were of the tradition I was excited about. So I decided to go to school for something else, and I ended up going to the Rhode Island School of Design. I was sort of shocked that I got in, and I was really scared to go, so I thought that was probably the best place to go. And then I ended up, I thought I was going to study interior architectural design, but then I fell in love with the furniture design department. It was, nice yellow, warm, cozy studio space, and it smelled like wood, and it felt really comfortable. So it was a lot of hand tools and machining, but it started off sort of know how to sharpen your chisels, and so I had an amazing adventure being a furniture designer builder from my college experience, and feel very empowered now to have just bought a house and talk about moving walls, and I feel very relaxed, and feels like it's just another fun way to get to use those building college skills. Although I graduated and promptly went back on the road. But it was a wonderful place to be surrounded by so many artists and designers, and the idea that you get to spend the energy to really flesh out what your ideas are and pursue whatever it is that you feel really passionate about. So, whatever it was going to be, I think in my life I was going to kind of keep coming back to the idea that whatever I feel the most excited about and passionate about is what I should be doing. My family's lived up and down the East Coast since early white folks arrived here. So that's sort of my heritage background. And then I was born here in North Carolina. My parents and my grandparents were all performers and storytellers and singers and artists, designers, craft people. And so I got to grow up as part of musical dance community here in North Carolina. My dad's a traditional storyteller and a conjure dance and square dance caller, and so being at dances all the time when I was little. And then my mom was a part of a family band doing traditional American and British Isles music when she was little. So when my parents got divorced and my sister and I moved back to Chicago to be near my grandparents with my mom, they were part of the folk revival, and my grandfather had a radio show. So they kind of got dubbed as the mom and pop of the Chicago folk music scene. And so tons and tons of different musicians and performers always came through. So my mother and my aunt, as well as me and my sister, got to kind of benefit from always being surrounded by all these really fantastic traditional performers, both, American and also British Isles, wonderful folks. And then also being up in Chicago, there was a blues element. So that was it was just always there. I just assumed everyone played instruments and danced and sang. I remember there being a handful of experiences where I would meet someone and they say I do whatever. I'm going to be like, yeah, and then what do you play? I just was sort of not a concept to me that, like, you could have a different sort of job, but you must at least still dance, or, like, well, what are your favorite stories, or, like, there had to be more of that other stuff, because that was what I saw everywhere. So when I homeschooled myself for high school so I could tour with that group that I was telling you about called Village Harmony and Northern Harmony. That was the main reason why I chose to homeschool myself, so I could be on tour with them and sort of see the world, and I was feeling like I would learn more. And it was also a chance to sort of rebel against my family and start learning songs that they didn't know more verses to. And just sort of coming into my own musical way of noticing the world and being in it that was slightly different. It wasn't a huge leap away, but it was a little sort of my own little angle. So yeah, that's sort of how it all came down. And my grandparents have both passed away now, and my mom still is a full-time musician, teacher, singer, traveling lady, and my dad does a lot of art and design sort of stuff mixed in with still calling dances and telling stories. And so it wasn't, I often get asked, or people say, like, it was really brave of me to be a singer, or, like, to decide to be a performing, traveling singer person, and didn't feel brave. It doesn't feel brave. It feels like it's very safe. It was exactly what I grew up knowing the best. So I saw lots of people making a living, and maybe they had other jobs that I didn't know about because I saw them when they were on the road. But it gave my little person brain the idea that it was a perfectly normal and fine way to make my way in the world. And so far, so good still.